Welcome to the Game or Die podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Moore, and this episode 46, I'm going to be talking about mainly one single game. I'm going to go into a couple other things, topics at the end, but I really want to talk about one single game that I've been playing. I played all the way through Days Gone on the PC. If you guys don't know what Days Gone is a zombie game. And I've never been attracted to those types of games. I don't like horror games. I don't like survival horror for the most part. But I do play kind of a lot of everything. So I have played a lot of zombie games over the years, and most of them don't click with me. But for whatever reason, this one did. Maybe it's because it was a game that came out a couple years ago, back in 2019 on the PS4, and it was a PS4 exclusive. Just like Horizon Zero Dawn, a couple previous years ago in 2017. And for whatever reason, Sony's starting to put out their exclusives on PS4. They just, I don't think they announced it, but there's a kind of a rumor / semi-confirmation that Uncharted 4 is going to be the next PC release for Sony. And I think that's really cool because that game is probably one of my favorite games in the last 10 years. But man, they've been putting out their exclusives on PC, and I love it, because I'm finally able to play it a little bit more. Last year, around this time last year, I started hearing a lot more people talk about Days Gone, saying, "Hey, it's a really good game. You should play it. You know, if you're kind of looking for kind of a longer form game to kind of sit down and play, listen to podcasts and all that stuff, Days Gone is really good." And so when the PlayStation sale happened, I think it was like the summer sale or whatever, I bought Days Gone for like $20 along with what was it, The Last of Us Part 2, which I still haven't played. That's probably going to be one of the next games that I play. But I bought it on sale, and I said, hey, $20 for this game that I originally was very turned off by. One, because of zombies. Even though I'm really into some zombie games. The Dead Rising series is a game series that I love, and I don't know really why, because I played the first one when it first came out, but it was because it was right around the launch window of the Xbox 360, and so we were all really hungry for a new game on that system. There just wasn't a whole lot. So when Dead Rising came out, it was, it was so incredible because there was so many zombies on screen. The hardware could facilitate that many zombies on screen. So I got really excited. I kind of got caught up in the aspect of the hype machine for that game. And when I did play it, I did enjoy it. Although I hated the fact that it was always on a timer and you always felt rushed through the entire game. And I totally get now that it was hey, you play through this game multiple times, but that's just not what I do. I don't play games all the way through and then immediately replay them, or even a few weeks or months later. Once I'm done with the game, I'm done with the game. If it is a phenomenal game that I had amazing memories with, and I have an aspect of, hey, you probably might want to play this again and see some different things happen, I might in 5-10 years. My favorite game of all time is Psychonauts. I've only played through that game 3 times in my life. And that came out in 2005, and it's a shorter game. And when I played through it the first time, I played through it 3 years later, and it was when I was living in Colorado by myself. And I just wanted to replay something enjoyable since I didn't really have anyone around me that I knew for 1,200 miles. So I wanted something a little bit familiar. The next time I played through it was when I was playing through it with my wife. When we were dating, she really started wanting to know more about the games that I was playing and I liked. And so we talked about Psychonauts. I introduced that game to her and she loves that game. And now we're super obsessed with that series. And we named our dog Raz, Rasputin from the main character. And we also both helped on the FIG campaign for Psychonauts 2 before they got bought by Microsoft and all that. So we love that series, and that's the third time I played through it, and that was it. I haven't played through it again, and I'm sure I will at some point because it's a good game, but I just don't have the desire to play most games multiple times, and that's what happened with Dead Rising. I just did not like playing through the games or through that game multiple times, especially when it's kind of a creepier game. I don't like that setting. I don't like being scared or afraid. It's not enjoyable for me to have those feelings constantly. So I'll very rarely play a game like that all the way through multiple times. I don't think I ever have. So I played through Dead Rising 1. I never played Dead Rising 2. It came out at a time when I was just way too busy with other things going on. I was running the game store and stuff like that. So I just didn't have time to give to that series the way that I normally would. And I also heard some kind of bad things about it, even though now it's kind of turned where it's like a lot of people really like Dead Rising 2. And then when the original Xbox One launched, wow, that was bad. When the Xbox One launched in 2013, Dead Rising 3 was a launch title, and I love that game. Dead Rising 3 is my favorite out of the entire series. It's just the right amount of goofiness. It's got a really interesting main character who's not really a jerk. It's got a pretty good storyline as well. You've got a lot of different characters, and I thought the environments were a little bit more enjoyable too. You're not just crammed into this shopping mall. You're out in a city and you're able to go to different locations and things like that. I thought it was a much better game. And then Dead Rising 4 was a travesty. It went back to the shopping mall. The main character sucks. I don't get why people like Frank West. I think he's a jerk. I think he's an uninteresting character. He's a very boring, uppity, angry, upsetting, annoying character that I don't identify with at all. I don't want him on my screen. And I thought the gameplay of that was just very like, oh, we got to make another Dead Rising game. What are we going to do? And so they kind of just threw stuff at the wall, and it didn't really mix together well. It wasn't a homogenous, like, commingling of different ideas. It was just kind of like, here's this, here's that. These don't really work well together, but whatever, who cares? It all felt very ramshackled and put together, and I did not like the setting, even though it was a Christmas game, and that's what really bummed me out about Dead Rising 4 was that it was a Christmas game. You don't get a lot of those. And I'm not talking like it was released at Christmas. I'm talking it was a game set during Christmas. And so they use, even in the marketing, it was all marketed with, I think, Jingle Bell Rock or whatever. And it's set in Christmas time. You've got snow, you've got Christmas trees and candy canes and Santa and all this stuff. And it was just like, wow, it was such a crappy game that it bummed me out. So I'm not a big fan of certain zombie games, but I did love Dead Rising 3. I think also another top contender would probably be the Left 4 Dead series. Now, Left 4 Dead, for me, is a multiplayer game which I'm really not off into most of the time. But when Left 4 Dead 2 came out, just like the next year, like they released Left 4 Dead in 2008, and then in 2009 they came out with Left 4 Dead 2, and everyone was super pissed off at Valve. And that was like the last time they put out a game practically. Except for Portal 2. Yeah, I know, but go with me here. Anyways, so Left 4 Dead 2 came out, and I was running my game store, and I had my core group from church Some of them worked at the store too, and what we would do is we would have LAN parties at the store at nighttime, overnights and stuff like that, and we would all just play Left 4 Dead 2 until the wee hours of the morning, and it's some of my favorite gaming memories, playing those games. Like, there is just so many, like, I could just think of my friend Phil going, "Pills here," and singing songs and stuff, and just, it warms my heart thinking about that game series, even though it's a really terrifying, like, atmospheric zombie game that takes itself really, really seriously. You got the witches and stuff like that, and you've got the tanks that are just terrifying. It's a very crazy, terrifying game, but for whatever reason, I love it. So when Days Gone came out, I was on the fence about it. I was like, whatever, it's a zombie game and it's got the crazy running Left 4 Dead 2 type zombies. I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. And then I did something that I shouldn't have. I listened to a lot of gaming media. And I've been following like sites like Giant Bomb and stuff like that for a long time. And I've had them influence my perspectives in certain areas. And when that game was coming out and they were trying to release that game, the Giant Bomb people kind of really wrote it off, and they were very negative about it. And it would just like, I kind of went, yeah, okay, cool. And I kind of thought the same way. And I didn't check the game out for myself when it first came out. Last year, when everyone started saying, hey, Days Gone is a pretty good game if you want a good podcast game, a kind of a no-brainer type of game. But that was it. That's all really anyone said about it. Flash forward to now, present day, a couple months ago, they said Days Gone is gonna come to PC on Steam. And I went, ooh, I already own that for $20 on my PS4, but my PS4 is across the country and is sitting in a bin, a storage bin. So I was thinking about it, and then it came out a few weeks ago, and I was like, well, I own the PS4 version, or I can buy it on Steam for like, another $40 or $20 or whatever, and have a better, faster, more balanced performance version of it. So I bought it and I started it up and I played through it, and I just kind of got sucked into that game. It doesn't happen as much anymore, not with every single game that I play anymore, which is a real bummer. Maybe it's because I am trying to play more games that are outside of my, not comfort zone, but outside of my preference of games. So I'm playing a lot more games on Game Pass where I'll install it, I'll play a little bit of it, and if I really don't enjoy the game that I'm playing, I stop. And I used to not be like that. If I played a game, I started it and I finished it no matter what, no matter how terrible I hated the game. But I'm realizing now that that's a really bad way to play games sometimes. If you're not covering games for, a company, if it's not your job, you are not beholden to continue playing that game to completion if you are not enjoying it. And this is also a reason why, is because when I first started playing games when I was 3 years old, there was a finite amount of games coming out per day, per week, per month, per year, per system. So when you got a game, you had all the time in the world to play through it because there wasn't as much coming out. Now, today, currently, there is hundreds of games being released every single day. And it is impossible to play every single game now. It's like when I collect games for a system, like a Nintendo, original Nintendo, or a Super Nintendo, or a Genesis, you can have and collect the full amount of games for that system. But now, with indie gaming becoming so prevalent, mastering games on your own personal computer and shoving it out to Steam or Epic or the Switch, anyone can make a game at this point. And so you're getting hundreds, if not thousands, of games being released by people every single week. And it is impossible because they're coming out for everything. If I wanted to collect every game on the Switch, it's literally impossible at this point, because even though that system is several years old, new games are coming out for it every single day, and it's not just published like by Nintendo or third-party companies, it's self-publishing as well. So you are getting indie games that are on Steam from 2003 that are now being ported to the Switch. So you're getting a ton of back catalog. I saw Kingdom Come is coming out. That game got released in like 2011, I think. 2010, 2011 maybe. Like, that's an old game. It's a decade-old game, roughly, and it's coming out for the Switch this year. And it's like, why am I going to collect that? Why am I going to download that? Why am I going to play it when I own it on several different systems? So that's partially the reason why, and I disregard a lot of that type of stuff. Bringing it back to Days Gone, though, I bought the game and I started playing through it, and I loved it, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I got sucked into it because it doesn't happen anymore. Every time I stopped playing that game, I started thinking, when's the next time I can play it so I can do this? Because what I'll do is I'll kind of finish up a mission, like a main storyline mission or a thing that I wanted to do, and then kind of go back to my home base and save. And when I save, I quit, and then I go off and do something else. I go to sleep. I go to work, or hang out with my wife. We watch a movie, watch TV, cook, eat, whatever, play with our dogs. But in the background of my mind, I'm thinking, all right, cool. Next time I sit down and play Days Gone, I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to go to this area of the map and see what's going on. Or I'm going to do a more of a run type of mission where I'm going to go stack up on supplies and stuff. And it was really fun playing through that game over the course of several weeks. And it was probably like 2.5, maybe 3 weeks. The reason why is because I was gone for an entire week in California for 6 days, and I don't really game while I'm traveling for work anymore, just because work is exhausting and I'm traveling, and I have my laptop, which is a gaming laptop, but I'm not going to play big old massive Days Gone on my laptop, which can run it, but I'm not going to want to sit there on a crappy little hotel TV and play that game. I don't like doing that. When I travel, I like watching stuff that I can let my mind relax a little bit and have more of a passive experience. But man, Days Gone, if you don't know what this game is, basically it's a game where you play as a biker named Deacon St. John, and you and your motorcycle club brother, Boozer, or formerly known as Booze Man, you and him are motorcycle brothers, and you try and keep each other safe and survive the zombie apocalypse that has been going on for about 2 years. At the very beginning of the game, they show this really long cutscene, and I was kind of cranky at the very beginning when I started this, because for the most part, I think that if you're going to do a story-based game, play the game out play the story out as I play through the beginning of the game. I don't want to hit start and then be subjected to a 20-minute cutscene. I want to immediately get up and go and start moving forward. And as I'm playing the game, you can start revealing the story around everything. I think that's probably a better way of doing these narrative-driven games. But hey, I'm not the game maker, so, this is their artistic vision, and I'm just kind of playing through it. So I started playing through it, and at the very beginning, there's this big, long, it felt like 20 minutes, probably like maybe 8 or so, but it felt a lot longer than that. But you're playing or you're watching Deacon St. John, the character that you play as, Boozer, and your wife, Deacon's wife, Sarah, like try and run through this zombie area and kind of try and survive, get to a rooftop with a helicopter. You get to the rooftop with a helicopter. By the way, this is spoilers because this is literally the opening minutes of the game. This is just all setting up the story. Sarah gets stabbed by like a zombie kid, which is called a Newt in the game, kind of like Newt, like in Aliens, the character Newt. But she gets stabbed and you got to rush her off to a hospital. Well, hospitals don't really exist anymore. So you find a military helicopter that they're kind of shoveling people off of. And the helicopter pilot basically says, all right, well, there's 3 of you guys, but I can only take 2. And Boozer's kind of in a little bit of a bad way. He's kind of struggling a little bit. Sarah's basically dying because she's got stabbed in the gut. So you basically put Sarah on the helicopter and tell the helicopter pilot, go. And it makes no sense to me. And I just got immediately thrown off. Like, why would you leave your wife alone in a zombie apocalypse as she's dying from a stab wound to go hang out with your motorcycle brother? Like, dude can take care of himself. No big deal. Like, go with your wife. Like, come on. That's a stupid decision. But that's what how the cutscene plays out. He says, no, I'm going to stay with Boozer. I'll meet up with you later. And it's like, yeah, right. It just makes no sense. So that's the opening cutscene. You flash forward to 2 years later to the present day, and you find out Sarah's dead. She's just straight up gone. And it's like, man, what a stupid, boneheaded move by this character named Deacon St. John, which is a really dumb and stupid name for a character. And I say that fully knowing that all the gaming media told me that. Like, oh, this is such a stupid character name. I personally do agree. It's a weird name for a character. It doesn't roll off the tongue. It sounds very forced and formal when you're a biker. Maybe that's what they were trying to go through, but it's not a good name for a character. But that's what his character's name is, so whatever. And you start off the game with you and Boozer trying to just like hang out and survive and do bounty runs for a local survivor camp that you aren't really a part of. You're basically a drifter. And so you kind of drift from camp to camp and kind of do whatever you need to survive. Anyways, long story short, Boozer kind of gets hurt. You got to take care of him. You have to start drifting around to get supplies and help him, and blah, 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 blah. But it's all a zombie game. So you're this biker character that has to ride around on your motorcycle and stave off zombies. And the main threat are the zombies in the game, but you kind of quickly realize that the camp survivors and the camp the caretakers and stuff like that are really the things that you're worried about more often in the main storyline. And the zombies are really not the focus of the game. They're the set dressing. They're the everything around the outside of the periphery is all zombie stuff. And, you know, you've got an apocalypse going on. Everything's abandoned, destroyed. But the characters and the camps are really the focal point of the story, and you dealing with all of them and who to trust and who not to trust. And it was a really enjoyable game, and I think the storyline was way more interesting. Deacon as a character starts off as this dumb biker guy making a lot of stupid choices. And he grows as a character and develops as a character as you progress through the story. And it was just like, wow, what a great story. What a great game to play for over 40 hours, seeing this character develop. And as you play through the game, you'll experience not just cutscenes of flashbacks, but also flashbacks that you kind of play through. And so you learn who Sarah was, his wife, and how they first met and how they're dating and how they got married, how he proposed. There's a ton of different flashbacks that you play through during the course of the storyline. And man, it is so enjoyable to see this character kind of turn from what you perceive as a dumb, stupid biker character into this, wow, this character is actually really well-rounded. He really cares. He has morals. He has certain rules that he abides by no matter what. He'll fly off the handle in certain cases. Some of the dialogue choices are a little bit odd and strange, but dude, he's a much better written character than half of the characters that you see in video games, or even movies for that fact, and TV shows. So I love playing through this game. The game mechanics themselves are a little bit open worldy cover shooter. You've got like your main weapons of attack. You have a melee attack with a boot knife is your like main knife that doesn't do a whole lot of damage, and you can pick up melee weapons, whether it's a baseball bat or a machete or a screwdriver or whatever. You can pick up these melee weapons and you can basically repair them as they get degradation. They have weapon degradation on them, and I normally kind of hate that, but I'm learning more and more as I play more of these weapon degradation type of games that it does help you to really move around the environment, think a little bit more, because your weapon's going to break. Luckily, you can spend stuff that you pick up, which is called scrap, out of the world, and you can repair your item if you're quick enough and you notice it. But most of the time I just let my weapons break, because you can find weapons all over the place, all these melee weapons. Guns as well. There's some guns that you start off with, and then as you do missions for these survivor camps, you can unlock more weapons and ammo and motorcycle parts and all this type of stuff in the survivor camps. But the main thing is you shoot all the zombies, or you can run away from them, or you can use the environment as your playground, basically. In the game, usually there are a certain amount of zombies for the area that you're in. But every once in a while, you'll come across a horde, and a horde has about 300 plus zombies usually attached to them, and they're kind of wandering. They just wander around. They kind of sit and stay in one area for an evening, and then they'll move across the map. And they're just kind of randomly, sporadically through the map. And as you go out and explore and try to get more scrap, more ammo, more materials to build Molotov cocktails or grenades or pipe bombs or whatever, you can come across these traveling hordes of zombies, and they will wreck you very, very quickly if you are not careful. Every time you kind of get by one, the music kind of ramps up, letting you know, hey, there's a horde nearby. But there was definitely times where I didn't realize, and I set them off, and they started chasing me, and they quickly overwhelmed me, and I died. So I was very, very careful to save and quick save a lot. The map is huge. It's split up into two sections, and you ride your motorcycle through the entire map. That is the main way of transporting your character. Running around just takes too long. You have a stamina meter, so if you are running away from zombies and a horde is on your tail, you better make sure that your bike is close by, because if you don't, you will get overrun by zombies. You can outrun them a little bit later on, but early in the game, not so much. Because you can boost your health, and you can boost your stamina by finding like these, they call them Nero sites. Nero is kind of like a military MASH unit site that has like a little encampment that has these pop-up trailers that are enclosed, and usually when you find them, you have to clear them out of enemies, whether the enemies are zombies or other bad guys around the world, because there are definitely ambushers and other factions of humans that are definitely bad that will try and kill you. So you kind of knock them out, and then you power up the unit to unlock, and then once you unlock it, you get a special upgrade, whether again it's health, stamina, or like a Red Dead slow motion focus for shooting. And you get to pick and choose what you want. And so I started off with stamina, because stamina was just like, dude, I need stamina. And about a third of the way through, I switched over to health, because I realized I'm not using my stamina all the way much anymore, so health is more of a concern. I bumped that up, and I kind of switched back and forth depending on what it was. But near the end of the game, I was basically like, dude, I got this. As long as I can heal up, and I have health packs and med packs as I play through these encounters with either bad guys or zombies, I'm totally fine. Whether it's stamina or health, I'm totally fine. But it's a really fun game. The one thing that I really kind of got frustrated with more than anything else was keeping an eye on my gasoline usage on my motorcycle. Your motorcycle has a gas tank, and it will run out of gas if you do not find gas tanks hidden sporadically throughout the world. They're not really hidden. You'll come across a gas station. You'll always know you can find a red gasoline station if you just kind of stop there and walk around and kind of notice where it is. And it will always be there every time you go through the game. And if you stop and quit out or whatever and you start it up, that red gas tank is always going to be in the same place. So as long as you kind of make a mental note of where this stuff is, it's not too difficult. It was one thing where it was always on my mind. I was always checking it, and it just kind of deterred me from really exploring the map more than I wish I could have. If I didn't have that stupid gas meter, I would probably have explored the map all the way through, unlocked everything much earlier on, because I love exploring in open world games. That's one of my favorite things is you give me a map with a ton of stuff to do in it, I will do a lot of that stuff. As long as the collectibles help me throughout my gameplay and experience or are really fun to collect, I'll do pretty much all of them. And so I thought, when I'm constantly checking on my gas and making sure that I have enough gas, I would, stop in the middle of a mission and then run around trying to find gas just so that I had a full tank. And there was definitely times where I ran out of gas and I was just like, oh, come on. So I had to backtrack or go looking for a gas station or an area where I knew a gas can would be. And sometimes there was like a 5-10 minute stretch where I had to run 5 minutes all the way across to the nearest gas station area, grab the gas can, and then run all the way back. And if you encounter zombies or whatever, you have to drop the gas can, take care of the issue, and then come back. And it was a little bit more of a mess than I think it should have been. The other thing is the game itself, the storyline. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the storyline in the first 2/3 of the game are incredibly in depth. They take their time telling this story. And like I said, I was fooled by this game when I first started playing it, because I felt like, I got to the end of the game. I'm 15 hours in. Well, the game's probably going to start wrapping up pretty soon. And, here's the big final mission. Oh, that wasn't too bad. All right, let's watch this final cutscene. And then, nope, the game keeps going. And going and going. It does not end. There is clearly a final mission and you beat the game moment, but like I said, that was 42 hours in. I kept thinking like 3 different times I thought I beat the game. And it wasn't a bad thing. It was just I was expecting the game to be a lot shorter. I did not know it was that long. So I kept telling my wife Elizabeth, oh yeah, I'm pretty much done. She's like, okay. And then the next day she's like, so how was the game? And I was like, I didn't finish it yet. And she's like, how? You've been playing that game forever. And I'm like, I know. It's a long game. but it was really, really enjoyable. It's a fun game that the zombie stuff is not the main thing. It's the characters that you're coming across and the emotional attachment to some of these characters. You have history with a lot of them, and that history gets expanded upon and explained in a really well done way. There are definitely some missions that take a lot longer than others. Sometimes there's a mission that you'll come across and you'll go, all right, cool, I'll do this. 5 minutes later, you're done with the mission. Sometimes it's like, oh, cool, I'll do the mission. And then it's like 45 minutes later, you're finally finishing up that mission. And that's, again, not a bad thing. It's just, I would have liked to know if, especially if I was like in the middle of a mission and I had to take off and leave somewhere or stop playing. I don't want to stop playing in the middle of a mission. I actually did that a couple times because the mission was so long. I'm super late at night, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm tired. I just stopped the mission. I saved it, hoped that I finished it, and it would resume. There was one time when I had to cook dinner, and so I was doing this long mission where I rescued this girl, and I rescued the girl. The cutscene plays out, and then it's like, oh, you just gotta escort her back to your bike and finalize the mission or whatever. And I was like, whatever. I gotta make dinner, so I stopped. I saved it. And went to make dinner. We had a really nice dinner. We watched a couple things. I came back to it later that night. I loaded the game up, and I had to start the mission all the way from the beginning, which was only like 15-20 minutes. But again, that's 15-20 minutes of a mission I already did, and I was way less careful the second time through. Like, I was sneaking around and stealth killing everyone, behind the back and stuff. But then as I went, I got to do this whole thing over again, I basically just ran through it, capping everyone in the face as fast as I possibly could, loud and proud, shooting guns and stuff like that, and just making a whole big scene, having everyone come to me instead of like sniping them softly and killing them quietly with stealth kills. I just was like, I'm over it. So it was an interesting moment in that game, but man, I really think my favorite part of that game was just the storyline with your character and really seeing his progression as a human being, not just being some stupid biker guy, but a really well done character. A lot of people say, oh, he's a dumb character. I'm like, yeah, at the beginning, sure. But again, as you progress, there's some really good moments. The other side characters throughout the game, Boozer even, it's a stupid character named Boozer. Come on, like a biker boozer guy, like you're constantly calling him Booze Man. Hey, Booze Man, what's going on? And it's like, oh man, this is so dumb. But you get his character later on. He's well fleshed out. He's a well-written character who has more to him than just, I'm a drinker biker guy. You develop you have a relationship with him, and it is deeper than just drinking buddies. There's a deeper relationship there, and it's a really well done. And you have relationships with other people that you've had relationships with the past, and they kind of get brought forward, and you realize, oh, there's more than what's skin deep with these characters on the emotional level. And man, like, you just don't see that in a lot of games anymore. So the fact that it takes 40 hours plus to complete this game really shows that they really cared. And like I said, the first 2/3 of the game are really well done. They take their time to let the moments of the scenes breathe and the characters develop as human beings. The back third of the game is not like that. It feels very rushed. The missions become just fast and furious and crazy in a way that I did not really care for. The final area that gets unlocked, basically what happens, and again, this isn't really a spoiler, but you have this main map that you're in for 2/3 of the game, and then you need to travel to another area, And so you travel to the other area, and they do the whole Red Dead like traveling music and all this stuff, and it's a really cinematic experience. And it basically prompts you, hey, if you start this mission, there is no going back for a while. So be prepared, do all the mission, the side stuff that you want to get done and out of the way, get your upgrades, fully prepare to not come back here for a while. And it was like, wow, that's really helpful for the game to tell me that, so that I don't just blindly go into this mission and then get locked out of an area that I've been in for, 20 hours or 30 hours, out of nowhere, blindly. So it tells you that up front. You get this whole other area to explore, and you spend, again, another, the last final third of that game, basically. Then it unlocks the full map, and you can go back and forth and all that stuff and finalize the missions and the storyline. But it was... man, it is so cool. I really liked it. I think it did remind me of Dead Rising at some point, because some of the survivor camp leaders feel very much in the way of psychopaths in Dead Rising. Dead Rising had these characters, kind of like almost bosses, where they're called psychopaths, and they've just been deranged by the whole zombie apocalypse. Maybe they're completely normal and human. Some of them might be turning, but they are crazy people. And you come across some of these characters in the game, and you're like, these are straight up crazy people, and they have these almost a comical amount of villainy to them, or a hilarity. Like, they're just written like no person is really like this, or if they were, they would be shunned. They wouldn't be put in a place of leadership or whatever. So at some points it can get a little bit of maybe tongue-in-cheek, a little bit ham-fisted writing in some aspects, but for the most part, I think it's a really, really well done game. The mission structure was really enjoyable. The side missions I didn't care for too much, because at some point I just had to stop doing them. There's a lot of fetch quest stuff where you go to a survivor camp, the leader tells you, hey, go do this, or one of the helpers says, hey, we got a mission for you, can you go track down this person, we got a bounty, or this person went off earlier today and hasn't come back yet, can you check up on them? And you'll do these little missions and stuff, and some of them really do help, but at some point I was just like, I'm not enjoying these missions. They're taking away from the main story, which I actually care about and want to progress through. So I just stopped doing some of those side stuff at some point. Also, during the midway point of the game, I was doing pretty much everything when I would go into a new area of the map that I haven't explored. And I dig through every single nook and cranny. I'd loot every body. I would find every scrap piece that I could. But I was noticing that was just taking so long to do. Like, I'd kill everyone, and then I had to spend 5 minutes just walking around the area, looting every body, scanning around the environment, trying to find the little gas can or whatever, or scrap piece that I could use to turn in or upgrade a component. And at some point I just had to stop and continue on with the game because and leave the area, because it was just taking too much of my time. My time is limited now. I'm an adult who has responsibilities, and I cannot just play video games for 8 hours straight anymore. As much as I love doing that in certain times of my life, like, I can't do that right now, and Days Gone is not gonna be that game that I devote that time to, even though I really, really, really enjoyed it. So if you have a PS4 or a PS5 or a PC and you like zombie games, I think the atmosphere was really creepy in certain points. I definitely did get creeped out in playing late at night, that I hate doing, but something compelled me to keep playing this game. If you like those types of games, if you want a really good story, do not be thrown off by a lot of people's opinions just writing it off because the character's name is Deacon St. John and he's a biker and it's a zombie game, because it's so much more than that. It is such a wonderful game to play, and yeah, it's got problems, but again, it's a video game. They're always going to have problems. There's no perfect game. Just enjoy the game, play the game for what it is, and if you like those types of genres, or mix of genres, or you want to experience something different, I highly suggest it. I think it's definitely worth playing if you like that type of stuff, or kind of can get past some of that stuff, because like I said, I'm mostly not a zombie guy. I don't like that type of horror or survival horror mechanics to games, but for whatever reason, I played it and I loved it. So that's Days Gone. Let's take a quick break here. I'm going to throw in some music, and then we will be back with some final thoughts. All right, so I want to talk about E3, because E3 is going on right now, and it is something that a lot of people have opinions on, and I see a lot of stuff being thrown out that I don't maybe necessarily agree with, or some stuff that I do, but I want to give my own personal opinion on the matter. E3 is the video game industry's big yearly event. It used to be a business convention, an industry event, and it was closed off to the public, and only industry people could get in. When I had my game store, I took the chance to say, I'm in the industry, I need to make purchasing decisions for the store, so I want to go to E3. It's been a childhood dream because I've always heard about it in magazines like Nintendo Power and EGM, and always wanted to go, but knowing that it was closed off to kids and closed off to the public, you have to provide industry credentials to go. I always wanted to go, so I took the chance and the opportunity to do that. And I went from 2009 to 2015. I stopped going in 2016. E3 is special. It's a week-long, roughly, event. It used to be 3 days, then 4, and then 5, and then about 6 or 7 days. But it's basically a week-long event for the entire video game industry to come together, give press conferences, which have now turned into PR conferences, and basically show off and give a showcase of the next year of products, of what's going to come out in the next year. And it's turned into a media circus. It was always bring, news crews and celebrities, especially kind of near the last several years to E3. I met tons of celebrities. Conan was there. Big from Robin Big. I met John Heater, Napoleon Dynamite. I met Morgan from Chuck. I met I met a lot of people there, and I met some really fun and interesting, cool, just normal people as well as celebrities. I had a ton of fun. I met Ken Levine at E3 and spoke to him about BioShock. I had him. I can't remember if he signed something or not. I had such a blast at E3, and it wasn't just because it was an industry event. It was a celebration as well of video games and the culture around video games, and just saying, hey, we all love this thing called video games. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy each other's company for the next several days. Let's show off cool stuff. Let's have fun experiences. And that's what E3 was for many years. The last several years, E3 has had a big identity crisis where you would have games media, and this is, again, and this isn't a dog pile on games media in general, but I definitely have a very different opinion than I did even several years ago, or even 2 years ago. I kind of despise game media now, especially because of how leaning and biased they are into one side of, their people's opinions, and they push a lot of propaganda and stuff. And I say, get that out of video games. We don't need that. Video games are an escape. Video games are an art form. And yes, an escape and art form can clash at sometimes, because if you want to escape the realities of everyday life, video games are a great thing to do that. But you also have these creators who are making art, and art can be very, very personal for a lot of people. They're putting their heart and soul and thoughts and beliefs into this piece that they do allow other people to help out with sometimes. You get into indie developers who one guy can make an entire game to do the score and all that stuff, like something like Gunpoint or Undertale. But you also have, on the other side of the coin, Ubisoft, who has like 5 billion people working for their company, and they have literally every single company or subsidiary or development studio all around the world working on the same game, and their credits are 45 minutes long. You have them all working together on these pieces that some person believes in or a group of people believe in. And so you're going to have clashing ideas of that. You're going to have some stuff that you don't really agree with, and that's okay, because again, it is art. It is personal not exploration, not exposition either. Man, what am I trying to say? An expression. It's a personal expression of someone and their feelings and beliefs. And so I think most of the time when you get the games media, they're trying to push a certain agenda, which is usually political and all that crap I don't want to get into. But man, it is so annoying. It is so browbeating. It is so unnecessary for these media conglomerates of people who are trying to push this one mindset out to the entire world and make you feel bad for liking this certain thing, or saying this piece of art is bad and the person who made it is a horrible person just because they don't agree with it. And it's like, dude, shut up, get away. You don't have the right to, or you have the right to say it, but you don't have the right to tell me what to think about this thing. I didn't ask for your opinion. And especially with a site like Kotaku or even Giant Bomb, where they do video game coverage, back then at least, it was supposed to be it's supposed to be news. It's supposed to be giving me the information that is presented. I don't care about your opinions. If I do, I will ask for them and seek them out. I do not want to be told, here's this thing, here's what you should think about it. No, just give me the piece of information. If a new game gets announced, don't tell me that it doesn't have a certain skin colored person in it, or don't tell me that I need to hate and send hate mail to the creator because they don't believe the same thing. It just sucks, and it's annoying, and I'm tired of that crap. Get that crap out of video games, especially for children too. Like that's a whole separate issue. I want to play a game and enjoy it, and if it has a hidden message or an even upfront message about a certain belief or whatever, I'll deal with it myself. I'm an adult. I can deal with that. Video games are super fun, and E3 used to be that way. And like I said, with Days Gone, it was the media just told me, you need to disregard this game right out of the gate because we think it's like this, or we think, and it's like they didn't play it, they never saw it. And yeah, it did get delayed over the years, and it had it seems like it had a lot of development issues over time, and I haven't really sought out any of that stuff. It's not going to help me enjoy or hate the game. I don't want to hate the game. I already finished it and played it, and I loved it, and I don't want to sour those memories because I heard, the main director left for this reason or that reason, or whatever. It doesn't matter. The end product matters to me, and if the end product is a good product, I'm going to play it, and I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to enjoy it and tell other people. I think if they like those types of games, they might like this, and I highly suggest it and give my recommendation. But I'm not going to impose my views on anyone, It's like, man, that stuff needs to be separated a little bit, just a little bit of clarity. That doesn't really have anything to do with E3, but I just kind of wanted to get it out there. E3, I loved. It was an industry event. It's gotten a lot more political. It's gotten a lot more segregated as a different type of event than what it used to be. And there's so many branching paths now. And I talked about this last year at E3 too, because last year they said, we're not doing an industry event. It's going to be online only, so no one has to show up in person and connect with anyone or anything like that. And every company kind of just went, crap, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, I guess online video is a thing, so we'll shoot a little video segment and do our own thing. And it was so sporadic. It was so spread out. It was so nonsensical. It was so chaotic that E3 last year, E3 2020 was horrible, not for the reasons that most people think, because there was no uniformity. There was no one vision. There was no collaboration on anything. Everyone just kind of did their own thing. And that's kind of how this year is feeling a little bit too. It's a little bit less like that because everyone's had over a year to kind of had a year to prepare and think about, crap, what are we going to do next year? And so everyone's doing online press conferences again. Everyone's doing direct videos of stuff, very little live presentations. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but I do miss it. And I think, again, you have the separation that used to not be there. E3 proper started yesterday. I'm recording this on Sunday, the 13th of June. Saturday, the 12th of June, 2021, was the first E3 press conference, and it was by Ubisoft. Ubisoft was yesterday. Today was Microsoft and Bethesda, because Bethesda was purchased by Microsoft. So Bethesda is part of the Microsoft company now. Then Square Enix is going on like right now, and then later on tomorrow, I believe there's a couple other companies, and then like EA and some other companies, and then Tuesday is Nintendo, and that's pretty much it. And then E3 is done. There's no booths, there's no exhibits, there's no demos, there's nothing for people to really get their hands on and get opinions about anything other than what we already have available with videos. And that's it. So that personally sucks, but I get it. I understand why they're doing online stuff still. I think it's stupid, but I totally understand why people are still wary. The issue that I have is, like I said, E3 started technically yesterday, but Thursday or Friday, Jeff Keighley is doing his own side project that is not a part of E3. It's called the Summer Games Fest. And I actually like Jeff Keighley. I know a lot of people give him crap, again, I think unrightly so, for a lot of stuff. Yes, there is a lot of promotion. He's done a lot of promotion in the past with brands like, you see the whole Doritos and Mountain Dew stuff. You know, yeah, that's branding. That's how things get made. If you don't have money, you whore yourself out to these brands and consumer products so that they get you get advertising money. That's what it is. You advertise other people's products on your stuff so that you get the money you need to make the thing that you want to do. You'll see it a lot. I mean, no one gives YouTubers crap about it. They're doing literally the exact same thing, and most of the time way worse, because you're dealing with a lot of people who have no integrity, have no differentiation between getting advertisers and advertising a product or just getting stuff for free. Also, there's no ethics with YouTubers. Most of the time, you'll see a YouTuber who just says, hey, I reached out to this company so that they could give me this product for free. They don't say that in those words, but they say, I reached out. I saw a video yesterday saying that, and it made me sick to my stomach. There was a guy that I used to really like watching. He was a very, very small YouTuber. He just started like a year and a half ago, and he was doing the YouTuber thing. He was just reviewing products that he bought on his own, reviewing them so that he could get a lot of more followers. He stopped doing that for a while, and it was great because I hate people who review products just to review products so they can get free stuff. So he started doing these tutorials of other things. And he started posting online, and I saw it a lot, and he was kind of everywhere in that little community of people who were doing the same thing. And so he got a lot of followers with his videos. Flash forward, 8-9 months down the line, and now he's reaching out to companies to get products to review. Like, come on. And so, like, I just told him straight up. I posted on his YouTube page. I said, hey, you know what? I think that's, I don't like the way that you're doing this. Unfortunately, you've lost me as a subscriber and follower, and I don't respect people who do it this way. And there's a lot of stuff being left out, but pretty much that's the basic of the story. And then he replied to me with a very passive-aggressive, stupid comment, and basically started making fun of me. Someone who's been watching him since the beginning, someone who kind of has told other people about him, and I don't respect the guy. I think he's a pretty big jerk, and I don't think that's the way that you do this stuff. You want to make money on YouTube, you got to play by the rules, and I get that, but man, you see a lot of people who are doing it for the money, and you can tell by the way they talk, by the same phrases that they say along with every single other person on YouTube. Watch out for those people, because they are doing it for the money, not because they like doing the thing. Maybe it started out as a hobby, but now it's straight up work. So I think that sucks. Jeff Keighley has had that stuff in the past, but I think he's doing the stuff. He's making the thing he wants to make. He wants to make an E3 competitor. He wants to have a award show that is prestigious in a way, that is not laughed at like the game awards of old, like on Spike TV, that they're taken seriously, that they are like the Grammys or the Oscars, where video games are an art form. They should be respected because literally everyone plays them. Like, I guarantee you, if you talk to your family or your parents, my parents are, in their 60s and mid to late 60s. Mid-60s, early to mid-60s. I had to think about that there. My parents are in their 60s, and my mom plays video games. My dad plays video games. My sister, who doesn't play video games, guess what? Plays video games. Most of them are mobile. Most of them are on their phones, but they play those games. My sister, I remember back in 2014, my sister was obsessed with Candy Crush Saga. And the only other video game she ever played was Kingdom Hearts and The Sims. And that was it. But she'll play Candy Crush on her phone every day. See, those are video games. As much as us gamers really hate them, and mobile games are very, very, very low form of video games, they are still video games. Everyone plays video games. So this notion that game awards shouldn't be taken seriously is a joke. It's not. It should be taken seriously. It should be a celebration of the art form, and that's what E3 is to an extent as well. It is mostly an advertising spot. You're getting a lot of just trailers at this point, or even teases of trailers, just announcements of announcements. And that's where I kind of roll my eyes a little bit. I say, you know what? If you got a few products, show me the products. Let me even get my hands on some demos, because that is something that only video games can do. You cannot demo. Is it video game / software? Software you can do demos of. You cannot demo a movie. You cannot demo music. You cannot. You can put out samples of that stuff. You can release a 15, or like what they did with The Dark Knight, where they basically released the intro of the movie and it went viral and all that. That's not a demo. You can't actively participate in it. You can passively watch it. You can passively listen to a single from an upcoming album, but you cannot actively participate in the experience of playing the thing. Video games and software, you can. So, man, it is so enjoyable to be able to play a new game that's gonna come out. And that's what I loved about going to E3, was playing all those games, getting my hands on it. A couple of my favorite memories was the original E3 2009 that I went to, my first E3. I played the demo of Batman Arkham Asylum and Brutal Legend, and I lost my mind on them. I had to tell everyone about how good these games were going to be. That was so fun, going out and playing those demos and saying, dude, you need to check out Batman Arkham Asylum. And this is what I have a big issue with Batman games, is everyone says there were always bad Batman games until Arkham Asylum came out, and that is so not true. There were bad Batman games, but they weren't all bad. Play Sunsoft's original NES Batman. Play Adventures of Batman and Robin on the Genesis. I personally like Batman Forever on the Genesis and Super Nintendo. I had that. I played with my friend Andrew all the way through that game multiple times. I love that game, and I recognize it's a not good game. I might as well even say it's a bad game. I would have to replay it today to be able to say for sure if it's a bad game or if it's just not a good game. It's a personal, maybe guilty pleasure game for me at this point. But there were good Batman games. Batman Vengeance on the original Xbox was an amazing game. But there were also bad ones like Dark Tomorrow, things like that too. So the Batman arcade game, or Batman Sega CD's Batman Returns, is really bad because it's just driving, and the driving in that is very difficult. But it also had some special stuff in there too. Man, it is unbelievable how a lot of people just will go with that. Oh, this person said that, so it has to be true. No, play this stuff for yourself. And that's what I'm telling you. Like, if you think all the bad Batman, there were only bad Batman games until Arkham Asylum, go load up Batman on NES, the original Nintendo. It's a classic. It's amazing. It's really good. It is very different from what you think it probably is. I mean, even Batman Return of the Joker. Man, that game is so crazy on the NES. The Genesis version is better, but the NES version is super rad too. Like, there's a lot of good stuff there. So when I went to E3 and I was telling everyone, dude, shut up about bad Batman games. Arkham Asylum is amazing. They have all the original voice actors pretty much from the original series. From the animated series, sorry, not original, animated. Paul Dini is writing it, who wrote for the animated series. He created or co-created Harley Quinn, one of my favorite Batman characters of all time. Like, dude, you gotta play it. And I just preached that game, and Brutal Legend as well. Brutal Legend, they didn't show the RTS segments, so I was blindsided by that as well, but I think everything else other than the RTS segments of Brutal Legend are phenomenal. I love that game. So, man, just playing through this stuff, it's one of those things where you have to find it by yourself. You have to go out and seek that stuff. E3 used to be that for me, and I could go and tell people. And that's what I like about this podcast too, is I still have the opportunity, if someone's listening, to be able to say, hey, look, you like this, go play this, or it's my recommendation. That was one of my favorite things that I had at Games for You. It was being able to talk to people about video games and recommend stuff that they would have never played before. Sometimes I just kind of said, well, this is my opinion on this, and this, go play it. But when there was someone who really came in and just said, I'm looking for a game, I really don't know what to play right now, I'm just kind of bored. And I said, well, what type of games do you like? And based off of those experiences that are that person's preferences, I can cater to what they would or would not like. And so I could say, hey, you might like this. Oh, I'd probably stay away from this though, because it has this, and this in it. And I would give them multiple game recommendations based on their personal preferences and what they liked and didn't like. So E3 was kind of like that for me, where it was like, here's this smorgasbord of video games, all these games that you could play demos of, and we don't get that anymore, and it's such a bummer. But just to kind of wrap it all up, E3 is such a hodgepodge of stuff now. And right now too, it's definitely not as bad as last year, but we're feeling the effects of last year still. So we're still getting just kind of trailers of games that are not coming out for quite a while. And it's like, man, you really, really, really need to have worked on or have multiple products, not just one or two big tentpole pieces, but also stuff under those tentpoles. That's why the B tier game or the middle tier game that hasn't existed for a long time really needs to come back. Licensed games are good again. Go out and play a lot of licensed games that come out on consoles or PC. They're usually fairly pretty good at this point. It was a lot of shovelware for a long time, and then the bottom dropped out. The middle tier of game got dropped out, and all we had was indie games and AAA games, and now we're getting kind of that middle ground back again. You saw it early on in the original, I keep saying this and I don't mean it, sorry, the Xbox One or the PS4, when they started doing indie games. Those were indie games, but they were a little bit more polished. You saw games that Ubisoft was doing, like Grow Home and Yarny or Unraveled. Games like those where they're smaller bite-sized games, but they are made by a team and have a budget behind them and have polish on them. They are not strictly indie games anymore. They're that middle tier that we've been missing, and that middle tier is what we should be getting right now. And you can work on your Halo Infinite, you can work on the next Assassin's Creed, but man, give us some stuff in between. Give us those middle tier games that have some budget behind them, have some polish, but they are not budget indie games. They are not $5, $10, $15 experiences. They are $30 or $40 or $50 experiences, a little below, right there in that middle. And that's what I want, and that's what we should be getting right now. And unfortunately, it seems like everyone just kind of went up, pandemic. Oh, we got to shut down everything for an entire year. And maybe someday we'll go back to business and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, man, what a terrible mistake a lot of that stuff was. Like, don't shut down, just change for because you have to, adapt to because you have to. And I really wish that we got a lot more than what it looks like we're gonna get. The Ubisoft stuff yesterday, I watched part of the press conference. I haven't watched the Microsoft one yet. We were out doing a bunch of stuff today, but I'll watch it tonight. But I know what was basically announced and what wasn't, and I was not expecting a Assassin's Creed. They've kind of been on the whole, like, every other year. Every 2 years there we'll get an Assassin's Creed. We got Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs last year, just about 7 months ago. So I was not expecting any of those, but man, I want some more, releases other than here's this and here's that and here's some indie games that are coming. Is like, that's it? Like, oh, come on. We should have every main company press conference should have about 30 titles. No, I take that back. That's a lot. That 30 is a lot. I'd say 20. 15 to 20 titles. 10. No. 15 to 20 titles of games that they're pushing out. Some of them can be ports, like a handful of them can be ports to new consoles and older generation games that are coming out again. A couple, like maybe 3 main AAA releases throughout the rest of the year. And then all of those middle games. Hire a bunch of development. There's so many development companies that are making games. Give them a little bit of a budget and wrangle them in a little bit to create this not crazy, open. We don't need tons and tons of open world games, but lock it down a little bit and give us, a good chunk of games. Back when I was going to E3, I was seeing hundreds of games. E3 now is probably about, I'm just guessing off the top of my head, I'd say there's probably about 70 games that are going to be shown this year from all the different developers. That's not a lot for an entire year of a multi-billion-dollar industry to put out 70, and I'm not talking like Steam release stuff, I'm not talking about that type of stuff. I'm talking about main published games on systems and consoles from all the major developers and publishers. We're going to probably see maybe 70 at most. I might go through and watch all of them and just calculate, how many titles were shown for each developer and publisher through all the conferences and say that, and because that's what E3 is. You're not getting, demos and booths from all these other small companies. You're just getting videos from the large publishers. Bam, that's it. So if we see less than 70, I'm going to be very sad for the next year of gaming. It's going to be rough. And I understand it. I totally get it. But we need something to tide us over. We need snacks in video games. We need bite-sized games that are a couple hours long, that aren't indie games, that are a little bit more, 5-6 hour games that have a good story or a good gameplay loop, good fun mechanics in it. Those are the games that we should be getting and people should be focusing on. And hopefully Microsoft is kind of the biggest proponent of this. They are buying up tons and tons and tons of studios. And they say they want to release a major release every month or two. Every couple of months, we're going to get hopefully a new major release from Microsoft. Like, that's what everyone should be doing. I don't need a AAA game, but I need something in between indie and AAA. There needs to be those B tier games. There needs to be single A games, as stupid as that sounds. There needs to be something more there, something a little bit less financial risk. Because again, that's what a lot of times you'll hear people say is such a financial risk to make these multi-year, huge budget games. Well, okay. No one's holding a gun to your head. No one's saying you need to make this AAA multi-year game. Get some good engines built, learn how to code, and get some good developers in who can create this type of game and this type of game and this type of game. A development team should have multiple teams. A development studio should have 2, maybe 3 teams, depending on the size of it, and all of those teams should be working on multiple games, or a game. So you have a development studio of 3 teams, let's say. Those 3 teams are working on games. Team 1 is working on the AAA game that's going to be take 2.5 years to make. Team 2 is working on a middle tier game that's going to take 1 year to make, or maybe even 1.5 years. Team 3 is working on a much smaller game that can come out later this year. That's what you should be working on. That's a great way of running something where you're continually putting out projects and products to sell so that you can gain some revenue, so that you can make more games. And hey, there's business, right? It's baffling to me that people take so long to make these games. I think even Days Gone was announced in 2016 and it came out in 2019. And I guarantee you it was being worked on much more than 2016. How did it take like 6 years to make that game? Like, come on. Or 5 years even, or 4, whatever. Games don't need to take that long. I'm glad they took that game and it took the time to make it, because it was an amazing game, but you can tell they got way too ambitious. They spent way too much time building up some of the stories in the beginning, because at the end they rushed through. And you got the character development, so you kind of get it. But there are cutscenes where they just kind of immediately cut to gameplay again, as the cutscene barely finishes having dialogue spoken in some aspects. Where in the beginning, you'd have someone talk and walk out of the room, and then you'd have a lingering shot of the person's face showing emotion. It would be like a 30-second long edit from the time the last word of dialogue was spoken to the time the camera cut. And now you're having people say, "Oh yeah, I'll meet you over there," and then bam, cut. It's like there's no time for letting that stuff linger and letting those emotions. But that's what it felt like. I could be completely wrong on the development of it. I have not looked into the development of Days Gone at all. I'm just using that as my own personal perception of what happened. Well, that was a couple rants and ramblings. That's going to do it for this episode of Game or Die Podcast. I've been your host, Ryan Moore. Thank you very much for listening to me rant. I'm going to be back next time with some more stuff. Thank you.